Welcome to Season 4 of My Wife the Dietitian, a fun, evidence-based weekly podcast about nutrition and healthy living.
Probiotics, prebiotics, now postbiotics. Tune in to hear all about this emerging component of your healthy gut biome.
Enjoying the show? You can help others find it and enjoy it too by giving us a 5-star rating or review. If you feel like reaching out to us with a question or comment, you can send us an email at mywifetherd@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at mywifethedietitian.com, as well as our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
What's on board today?
Well, today we're talking about postbiotics. And are postbiotics good for you?
I don't even know what postbiotics are.
Well, that's perfect then, because we're going to talk all about what they are.
Is this one of these where you ask me a whole bunch of questions?
No.
And you're going to quiz me about stuff that I don't know anything about?
No.
Okay, I get to sit back and listen and learn.
Well, you can ask some questions.
Well, I probably will, yeah.
I'm sure you'll ask lots of questions.
Yeah, I know what my first question will be.
Yeah, what are they?
What are postbiotics?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about what they are, the types, the benefits, and how to get them.
It sounds like remember the $6 Million Man. This is dating us big time, but I think I was a child when that show was on. But this is like the new generation. It's like the postbiotic man or the postbiotic woman, maybe.
It's true,
because it's all like gender equality and all that, right? So it'd be the postbiotic woman. So this is what happens after you've eaten your postbiotic foods. You turn into the postbiotic person.
That is funny, Rob.
Is that what happens? Well, let's find out.
Well, it's so funny because seriously, I'm sure people are going to hear more and more about postbiotics.
They are now. They're all going to listen to our episode here and start asking questions.
Yes. Well, they won't have to ask questions after this.
But that's true. That is true. All right, well, let's get into it. I'm curious now. You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, well, probiotics were a thing or hot in the media.
So there's prebiotics and probiotics. That's what I know about already.
Right.
Right?
So,
and now there's postbiotics.
Exactly.
Okay.
So probiotics, do you know what those are? You don't want me to ask
Yes,
you.
but I can't explain it.
Okay, that's
They're
fine.
good for your gut. That's all I know. You find them in yogurt and fermented foods. Or is that prebiotics? Prebiotics feed the No, I'm getting all confused now. Prebiotics feed the probiotics.
Okay, the probiotics are bacteria that are part of your microbiome.
In your gut.
In your gut. And they're crucial for digestion, metabolism, mood and cognitive function, and overall health.
Okay.
And the probiotics are live. They're alive.
They're
right?
like little creepy crawlies.
They're live organisms.
Yeah.
Okay.
But good live organisms. And what do they do?
So probiotics are the live organisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like the body, like they are actually alive, whereas the prebiotic is the food for the live organisms.
And why do we want the live organisms to eat that food? Like what's the purpose of that? Just to sort of get people up to speed so that we know what we're talking about. What's the purpose of the probiotics in our gut? Why do we want those little creepy crawlies down there?
They are down there. It's not that we want them. I mean, we already have them.
But
like everyone has them.
We want to encourage them and feed them the right stuff to make them do their job. Like they're going to be there either way, and they're either doing a good job or a bad job kind of thing, depending on what you feed them.
Yeah, there's a balance. So it's kind of, remember we talked about like the ecosystem. It's like an ecosystem down there.
Okay.
And
you want, sorry to interrupt, you want a healthy gut, because that's like a common sort of phrase you hear nowadays, a healthy gut, and you get a healthy gut if your probiotics are happy kind of thing. If you have a good microbiome and your gut bacteria are happy, right?
Yeah,
and we get that by feeding them the right prebiotics.
Right. And we want beneficial bacteria in the gut to have a balance of healthy, beneficial bacteria compared to the pathogenic bacteria that can make us sick.
Right.
So the probiotics, we did an episode on that, episode 108. So how to get probiotic foods.
Yeah. That was all about fermented foods and stuff.
Exactly. Fermented foods. That's right. So it's the healthy bacteria that live inside our gut, and they convert the fiber into beneficial compounds. So the fiber is the prebiotics.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the food for the probiotic.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. And
we need like a little cartoon to go along with this, just so people understand. I'm sure there's one that exists. I'll try to hunt one down and throw it on the social media so you can all follow along.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because it's funny. The first thing that we were hearing more about are the probiotics, the live bacteria. And then came the prebiotics, which are the food for the probiotics. The postbiotics are the byproducts of the probiotics. So they're not live. Postbiotic actually means afterlife.
Can you explain that in a different way? That's more like, what do you mean byproducts? Like the waste? Like,
Yes.
or what's okay?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So like, let's pretend that we're people. So I'm the organism, and I eat my hamburger. That's my
let's say you eat your oats.
Okay, I eat my oats. So that's my prebiotic.
That's right.
And then
The food for the host.
and then it works its way through me.
Yes.
And then what gets flushed away
Is the postbiotic.
is the postbiotic.
But it's inside our gut, and it's actually helpful for our whole system to stay healthy.
The postbiotic.
Yes.
It doesn't actually leave your body then.
It does eventually leave our body in our waste.
Does it leave the gut or does it stay in the
Yes.
gut? And, okay.
Yeah, it's helping in the gut. It's a byproduct in the gut. Okay, what are postbiotics? Like, what are they made from? Like, what are these byproducts?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's actually various nutrients like B vitamins and vitamin K and amino acids are actually in the byproducts of the probiotics.
Okay.
I know it gets complicated.
Yeah.
There's also like cell wall fragments. So just like the debris, right? There's like debris. There's enzymes, and the big one is short chain fatty acids. So that you've heard of that, I bet.
I have, but I can't explain it.
That's okay. You don't have to.
Okay, good.
Butyrate is one of those short chain fatty acids that are really important for helping improve symptoms for people that have IBD, like intestinal bowel disease, like Crohn's or colitis. So I think people have heard of butyrate. It's a short chain fatty acid that helps stimulate production of the regulatory T cells. So it's immune response in our intestine to help keep the gut lining strong, to help keep our immune system strong. We know that 80% of our body's immune system is happening in our gut. And it's partly because of all the bacteria that are in the gut to help keep the gut, the integrity strong.
Right. Okay.
So that keeps that the opposite of a leaky gut.
And sorry, how does butyrate, how does that fit in? It's a postbiotic?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It helps.
All the stuff you just said.
Well, okay. We know that it's like an ecosystem in our intestine, and we need to have probiotics, so the live bacteria. So we want the good bacteria, like a good amount of those, but we have to make sure we're giving those live bacteria food. So that's a prebiotic.
Right.
And so a lot of the prebiotics we know about are carbohydrate foods. So a lot of people that are on restrictive diets that I see have gut issues because they aren't including a lot of these, a diverse variety of plant foods, especially.
Okay.
So we know that, and I think we've talked about prebiotics.
I don't think we've done a specific episode on prebiotics, but we've definitely mentioned prebiotics a lot. And I'm sure in that episode 108, when we were talking about probiotics, we discussed prebiotics.
Okay, episode 122, resistant starch and prebiotics. So that is a prebiotic, is that resistant starch.
Right.
It's because resistant starch resists the digestion. So then it's in the gut and it's food for the probiotic. So it's food for the good bacteria.
Right.
And then what happens is we get this short-chain fatty acids, the butyrate, the acetate, the propionate. And the butyrate helps to maintain the integrity of the gut lining. It reduces the inflammation in the intestine, and it supports the overall gut function. So that's really important for our overall immune system.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And some of the prebiotics that we eat and that are good to offer our gut some healthy food for the probiotic are like oats are a good one. That's why I mentioned oats.
Oh, okay.
Chia
Okay.
is another one. It supports your bowel regularity, as you know. It feeds the beneficial gut bacteria, and it has the short chain fatty acid, the butyrate and acetate, and it helps reduce inflammation in the gut. And the same thing with flaxseed. So that's another one. So flaxseed has the added benefit, just like chia, but also has a little bit more omega-3 than chia. So that's an anti-inflammatory effect. And bananas are also a resistant starch, and they resist digestion and ferments in the colon to provide the short-chain fatty acids, the butyrate. So basically, the prebiotics feeds the probiotics, and then once everything's used up, the byproduct is the postbiotics. So
And
it's
it
the waste.
it still has a purpose as well, you said.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if you have bad prebiotics, you're going to get bad probiotics and then bad postbiotics, or ineffective, or I don't know if the word bad is correct, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. You've hit the nail on the head. People that don't eat the foods that are fiber, basically the soluble fiber, the prebiotic, the resistant starch foods, a lot of the complex carbohydrates, a lot of the foods in our diet that are carbohydrates end up being prebiotic foods.
Right, okay.
And so they're food for the probiotics. And then after that all happens, then you've got the postbiotics in there too. And that is the byproduct.
Perfect.
So people think, well, if they're like the byproduct, then maybe we don't need them. But just because they're dead does not mean they can't have a health impact. Mm-hmm. And they do actually, because they help with our immune system. They help support the intestinal barrier, as I mentioned before, the gut lining integrity. Mm-hmm. And that helps to prevent germs from, going into the bloodstream, because it's like a barrier, right?
Right.
So as I mentioned, probiotics are alive, postbiotics are dead, and they're inanimate. They're microorganisms, and they're components that confer a health benefit on the host.
Well then.
They have supplements, postbiotic supplements in other countries. I haven't really seen them here, but they're added to pancake mix and ice cream and soup and popcorn and juice, which is kind of bizarre.
Isn't your body supposed to create its own?
It does.
Like
exactly.
Ideally?
Well, that's the thing. I think as we hear more about postbiotics, people are going to say, oh, I guess I need that as a supplement.
Right. They're going to be buying all three. They're going to be buying prebiotic supplements,
That's right.
probiotic supplements, and postbiotic supplements.
That's right. That's exactly. But the thing is, we can actually just get it all from eating whole, minimally processed vegetables and fruits, whole grains, nuts and seeds. These all provide us the fiber and the prebiotic food for the probiotic. Mm-hmm. So, and if we have some fermented food in our diet, and then we also have the food to feed the fermented food, the fiber to feed the probiotic, that all will help this whole ecosystem and help us to have that postbiotic, because the postbiotics help with a lot of our health, including helping with blood sugar metabolism, allergy symptom relief, less symptoms for people that have inflammatory bowel disease, so Crohn's or colitis, less diarrhea if they have these foods that end up having postbiotics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also protection from colon cancer.
Well, that's a big one.
So it's pretty cool to think the symbiosis and mutualism we have with our gut bacteria, like how many microorganisms are happening, like are populating our gut. And it's like bacteria, fungi, yeast. We know that our gut is one of the roles it has in the body is the gut extracts energy for us to move and for our body to work. It absorbs nutrients and water, and it removes waste. And so with the extracting energy and absorbing nutrients, this is where all these bacteria come into play.
Okay.
So the gut microbiome is pretty incredible. And the probiotics end up in the gut microbiome, and they're essential for survival. They help to get the nutrients from the food and improve our immune system and support the integrity of the gut lining.
Amazing.
And we've talked about like the rainbow of different plant foods, the colors, because that's a diversity of all the different types of plant foods. We know that it's the diversity that are really important for our gut microbes to have lots of diversity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And there's a good little excerpt I want to read from this book called Gut, The Inside Story of Our Body's Most Underrated Organ by Julia Enders.
Okay.
It's a great little excerpt here. Whenever scientists search humans for a particular bacterium, they constantly come across new, previously unknown species, or they discover known species in unexpected places. In 2011, a group of researchers in the United States decided to examine the flora of volunteers' belly buttons, just for fun. One subject's navel was found to contain bacteria that were previously known to live only in the seas off the coast of Japan, despite the fact that the volunteer had never even been to Asia.
Oh, wow.
Globalization is not just your local corner shop turning into a McDonald's. It affects even the contents of our navels. Every day, billions and billions of foreign microorganisms fly around the world without paying a single cent for their tickets.
That's hilarious.
Everyone has their own personal collection of bacteria. It could even be described as a unique bacterial fingerprint. If you were to take swabs from a dog and analyze the genes of its bacteria, the dog's owner could be easily identified with reasonable certainty.
Really?
The same is true of computer keyboards. Anything we come into regular contact with which carries our microbial signature. Everyone has some outlandish items in their collection that almost no one else will share.
Where do you get the belly button stuff done? That sounds really interesting.
That's right. The microbial landscape in our gut is just as unique and individual. So how are doctors supposed to know what is beneficial and what is harmful? Uniqueness like this presents researchers with a problem. If they're trying to ascertain what influences our gut bacteria have on our health, it is no use finding out that Mr. Smith is carrying a strange Asian species and several other weird microbes in his gut. Scientists need to identify patterns to deduce facts from them.
Amazing.
So interesting, eh?
Yeah, that's really crazy.
It just kind of shows like the diversity of and the amount of different microbes we all have.
You know what I thought was really interesting?
What?
Is someone decided to study the contents of someone's belly button.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do that. It's just something that's fascinating. We're all fascinated by the stuff that collects in our belly buttons, but someone finally said, let's actually put this stuff under a microscope and see what's there. And they discovered this amazing stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know if it's amazing, but it's just different. It's certainly interesting.
Well, it's more than just fluff. Which
right.
is, do you know what I mean? Like you're discovering stuff from Japan in your belly button. I think that's pretty amazing.
That could be the title, More Than Just Fluff.
Right? Exactly. Navel gazing. That's like a thing. It's a pastime for people. Now there's some depth to it.
That's hilarious, Rob. It's so funny. Oh my goodness. The ecosystem we have, actually it's all over our skin and in our nose and our oral, like our mouth, and and our gut is just loaded. So, and there's this gut brain connection. We've talked about that too, and how like there's t-shirts that say, my gut microbes made me eat this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense if you understand the process.
Exactly. So, and we know that there's ways that we can hurt our microbiome. And I mentioned to you a minute ago about people that I see, clients that are on restrictive diets and are not including, whole food groups. Mm-hmm. And that might be damaging. And also we know that if we're only eating a lot of like refined carbohydrates, so like white bread, white pasta, white rice, sugar, lots of sugars, bakery items, and artificial sweeteners too, that can actually be harmful for the gut and like for the microbes. It's not going to be like, we're not getting that diversity of like the different plant foods. And sleep. We know that sleep can be disrupted. That can disrupt the microbes too, because the gut bugs actually have a circadian rhythm. So we know that
oh, no way.
When you travel, your gut bugs can get jet lag.
Oh, crazy.
So that, especially if, say, if you're in a different time zone and then you're in the place for a while and your bowels are your bowel habits change because you're in a different place or you're going at a different time. And then when you get back home, things are kind of disrupted. It's just like shift work. And so the gut bugs actually have their own circadian rhythm and that they need that to be, more in tune with, a regulatory kind of.
Yeah. Wow. That's
so
really
interesting,
crazy.
right?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. And the other thing that can disrupt are, we know antibiotics. So if we're on a lot of different antibiotics when we're young and even throughout our life, that can kill off good bacteria. So that can affect how our gut works. And stress. Stress definitely can disrupt the microbiome.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So all of those things are a big piece of the puzzle. And we know that there's the probiotic supplements. We mentioned a little bit about that. And it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So the marketers have all these health claims that they have like the perfect probiotic for your gut. But just like I said about this, this guy who has this strain from Asia and like, how do you know exactly what strain you need?
Every body is different.
Exactly.
Right? So you can't just buy something off the shelf and expect that it's made for your body.
I know.
It isn't.
Exactly. And so that's the thing, like food first. If you can just eat, a well-rounded, balanced diet, you're going to get these whole foods that help feed your gut, that give your gut the probiotics, the live bacteria with the fermented foods. And then we're going to have prebiotics to the food for those live bacteria, the probiotics.
Right.
And then you get the postbiotics, which is the byproducts that actually have an immune modulating effect. It's helpful for your immune system and it helps with keeping the integrity of the gut lining strong. And it's a big piece of the puzzle too. So
yeah, sounds like it.
Postbiotics isn't something that you actually have to go out and seek to buy or to start including, because it's already happening.
Yeah, it's happening right now as you're listening.
Exactly.
That's what's going on down there.
It's just more and more information.
Just understanding. I mean, what I'm taking home from this is understanding what you eat and what you put in your mouth, what that does in your body and how your body processes that and why it's so important to eat the right things and what the right things are.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really has, it's more than just, and we've said this before, it's more than just like filling your tummy, like making you feel full. Like food has so many purposes when it comes to your health, and it's so important to eat the right things and fuel your body and your brain and your gut and all of those parts of your body in the right way.
Yeah. And just like, exactly. Just having kind of a regular eating schedule so that you're not going long periods or you're not skipping meals. Having that, we talked about plate ratio. So we're getting lots of vegetables and fruits and whole grains. And like for the starch is the whole grains and then the protein. It's really important. And, when you eat fresh produce, you get both prebiotics and probiotics into your gut, because like fruits and vegetables have lactic acid bacteria on them. And so, for instance, if you're going to make sauerkraut, you don't need a starter culture. There's lactic acid bacteria is already on the cabbage leaves.
Oh, interesting.
And so it starts to ferment naturally, and then that turns into a probiotic. Like when you eat it, when sauerkraut is made, when you eat it, it's a probiotic in your gut. And then when you're eating oats and all of these prebiotic foods, like the carbohydrate foods or the resistant starchy foods, that feeds the probiotics in the gut. And then it all ends up becoming postbiotics. So it's just always happening. Like this cycle is happening in our system, in our digestive system.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so cool.
It really is. So hopefully we answered the question about what postbiotics are, if they're good for you, the types there are, and the benefits and how to get them.
Yeah, so that's good information. Thanks for explaining all that and sharing that with us today.
Yeah, it's just so amazing to think of the ecosystem that is within us all, and it's a big part of our immune system. So it's good to continue to feed ourselves well and get that variety and diversity of different foods in our daily intake, in our weekly intake.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, check out our website if you want more great information on how to stay healthy. There's blog articles. There's tons of newspaper and media articles that Sandra's written or been a part of. There is freebies now we have added to our website. There's a page of free downloads. You can access things there. We have a great newsletter you can join. So a free weekly newsletter. There's links for that on the website as well. So tons of great stuff. You can send us your questions too. It's mywifethedietitian.com is the website, and mywifetherd@gmail.com is our email. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We share stuff on there quite regularly, so check us out there as well. Don't forget to share with your friends if you're enjoying what you're hearing. They'd love to know what you're listening to. And rate and review the show. If you like the show, let us know through feedback, rating, giving us a review. It helps us. It helps other people find the show, and makes you feel good too for sharing your thoughts. So that is it for today. We will be back on Wednesday with Nutrition Nuggets. So until then, have a great week, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.